Gaio. It's time
Gaio
to talk about
Gaio.
One Piece.
There once was a man named
Named Gold Roger.
Walker.
Hi.
Okay, hey, yeah, we haven't done this because Shonen Jump and Oda's break schedule is a nightmare near the end of the year.
The
We're
release
not
schedule
kidding.
is weird too.
Yeah. How
Because
dare
that chapter
they?
came out on a day I wasn't expecting.
How dare they take a break
Well,
from drawing 24/7?
yeah, I mean, like we always say, I think every mangaka should take breaks, but I feel
Yes.
bad when Oda does it because I want content. But
The
this was Bradley's first One Piece holiday season, so it was fun.
yeah,
We got new people to the tradition.
it was great when I woke up on the Friday one time. It was like, oh, there's a new chapter today. Here you go. You
That
should
was
read this.
weird. I felt like a dirty Scanlation reader
Yo,
because they read on Fridays.
what if Jump was like, fuck it, we're gonna beat the scans their own game and starts releasing them on Friday?
I mean, hey, as long as I get it in my consistent, neat form, I'm
I
cool with it. So to shave some time, we're gonna try a little bit of a different schedule. We got 4 chapters as opposed to our usual 2 or 3 because of the breaks, and it's later in the night as usual than usual. So we're gonna try to do this in a timely manner. So I'm gonna quickly summarize the broad points that we covered in these 4 chapters, and then we're gonna hit our favorite points or anything we don't like, anything that's worth discussing or theorizing on. So we'll go from there. So 1068 is a chapter where Kuma heads out in pursuit of something. Vegapunk talks about his dreams and his goals. Atlas gets knocked out by Lucci near the end.
Yes.
We got 1069, which has the beginning of Luffy versus Lucci, where he goes Gear 5. We get some hot Devil Fruit lore, and we get Sentomaru showing up. We got
Yeah.
1070, which is the proper Luffy versus Lucci fight. You get Sentomaru getting downed. You get Seraphim combat and lore and explanation over their authority systems and their devil fruits and their blood and all that. And it ends with the Straw Hats escaping the situation and protecting Vegapunk. And then we got 1071, which has Kuma crashing into the red line, the Vegapunks regrouping, CP0 attacking the Sunny, Kid arriving at Elbaf, and Garp heading out to go fight Blackbeard.
R.I.P.
As you
That's
were
it?
doing that overview, I was like, if you told anyone that overview even 6 months ago, they would be like, what the fuck are those 4 chapters?
Nice fanfic, idiot.
I know.
Garp heads out to fight Blackbeard? Yeah, okay.
Their kid is at Elbaf, we're getting devil fruit lore, like...
Kaku attacks the Sunny and fights Zoro? Yeah, alright. What
Yeah.
is this, a One Piece movie? But that's where we live now. We just live in chaos times. So overall, a lot of plot happening this chapter. I'd say this batch. I'd say the first one was more of a setup, but then 69, 70, and 71 all had like either big stuff going on in the arc or cool stuff being set up outside the arc. So I'm gonna kick it over to Joe. Do you have like a favorite thing in this portion or like something you like or dislike? Tell me your thoughts, Joe.
I don't like that Garp decided to declare his death. I like. I think that like that one is like that to me is a huge red flag. It's just really weird because on the topic of that in that chapter in 1071. That's like we're cutting to like grander world things, and that usually doesn't happen in the middle of an arc, right?
So
Like,
that's been the status quo with Egghead though, where like
yeah.
every 3 or so chapters we're cutting back to events moving in the world.
Mhm.
This
So
could.
I feel-
I wonder if this was always Oda's plan on how to handle the end game, or this is part of his the month off that he took, where he decided to like tighten up the story and like maybe restructure some things. I wonder if part of that was like, hey, I'm gonna put some of this post arc stuff in the middle of the arc.
I feel like it may be more of a seeing how everyone comes to the same conclusion of where to go after this, potentially.
Yeah, I could definitely so like Kid being an Elbaf, I think is really interesting because I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people are expecting that to be the Straw Hats' next island.
Hmm.
And if we recall, Kid was talking, or like Killer was talking about, oh, you don't know where the poneglyphs is? You got to find the burned man. You don't know about him. So, and that it's interesting because when they talked about the burned man, we noticed that like why does it cut to Robin in the next panel? Like she is hardly a part of the scene. We now have enough context to almost like confidently say that that burned man is Saul because we also know Saul's in Elbath.
Yeah.
So we're doing Better Call Saul again. The show's over, but
Oh
the
boy.
adventure goes on.
Uh,
I guess a overall question: how do y'all feel about like Garp's declaration against Blackbeard? How do you think it's gonna play out? Will we see any of it soon?
I mean, Garp's not an idiot. I feel like he wouldn't. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. He had a lot of help at the. God, what's the name of the incident against the rock pirate?
God Valley, yeah.
God
I mean, he
Valley.
had Roger, the ultimate help.
That's the thing. So, like, I don't know. He's not an idiot. I feel like he wouldn't fight Blackbeard unless he had a good reason for doing so. Right now, I just don't know what the hell that good reason would be.
Well, I think we get it in this page. They're talking about because Helmeppo's here crying about Kobe. If we remember,
Yeah.
Blackbeard
Helmeppo
captured. Helmeppo's out here mattering and pushing the plot forward. Kobe was captured by Blackbeard, so we have like Kobe being I think we were all maybe a little worried. It's like we don't want Kobe to be the damsel in distress. Like we want him to be a little more interesting in this end game. But I think when you look at him as like a bait for Garp to go fight Blackbeard, that's actually a really clever use of like the character of Kobe.
I think part of it too is that like assuming that the dynamic difference between Blackbeard and Luffy is that Luffy is charting his own path, but it just happens to be lining up with certain elements of Joy Boy and
Yeah.
other people.
Definitely.
Blackbeard is following a map of Zebek and trying to follow in his footsteps. So assuming that like Zebek had like the dark fruit or whatever, like Garp might also think that he knows how to deal with this fruit, so he can take on.
That's a good point, right? We've known for a long time that Blackbeard was specifically looking for the darkness fruit. Like he stayed in Whitebeard's ship for 40 years, just being kind of a low rank pirate, waiting for the time that because it was the most likely place he'd find the fruit. He said. So I guess I never considered that like maybe Zebek had the dark fruit, and I mean it would make sense for Blackbeard to be copying the homework but doing it right. Like he's gonna do the finale better than Zebek did. And I do like that parallel where it's like Luffy didn't ask for the Joy Boy fruit, but he embodies it better than someone who's like, kind of following someone else's destiny to make his own. Luffy is just kind of making his own from the
I
get-go.
also kind of realized, and this dawned on me, and no pun intended, but like Nika's the sun god, and Luffy's got to fight the guy that's literally darkness.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh, yeah, come on.
it's perfect.
It writes itself.
This is cinema right here.
Yeah. So
I can't wait.
So I think that's what's going down there, and then Garp's going to have to like self-sacrifice himself for Kobe.
So okay, that was gonna. So you think Garp is going down here for reals?
I think so, or he's going to be, because here's the thing about the darkness fruit, right? From what we know, is that like its whole big thing is that it can counter devil fruits because it absorbs all their power.
True.
Garp has none. He just has hockey, which means he pierces pretty easily.
Yeah.
So like, that's not really an issue for him, right? So it's
all about that quake fruit, and Blackbeard being a cheap bastard. But let's not let's not discount the idea that Blackbeard might have somehow gotten a third fruit if he could figure that out. He could have Moria's shadow fruit because that happened. He could have Law's fruit, God forbid.
Jesus.
That would actually be a teleporting Whitebeard shooting shockwaves. That'd be too much. No, thank you. That's like
even for Gear 5, I don't know.
Bradley, what do you think of like Garp's chances here? If he was to fight Blackbeard,
unless he's bringing some secret weapon I don't know about. I love you, Garp, but I'm sorry.
He in his prime he could fight Roger, and he's probably still like as strong as like the admirals, but I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Tyler, do you think Garp's got good odds here?
Yeah, I think he's got
Oh.
really good odds because nobody dies in One Piece. So I'm
But
gonna hedge my bets on that.
You know, that's completely fair. But we
Yes.
are reaching the same point of the adventure as Marineford again.
Yeah, I
and,
know.
And this year, Oda was like, "Oh, gee, I hope no one dies." In his like state of the address that he does every year, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
well,
Marineford
Luffy-
was what, like in the 500s or something?
five like 550s. So
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute since we had a bunch of horrible fighting and deaths.
Luffy did get a new dad in the form of Jinbei, so I could see them needing to replace Garp.
I've always thought Shanks would be the one to die from Blackbeard, and like I don't know why I'm such an idiot. Of course, like I think Garp is another good option. Like you probably won't hit Luffy as hard as Shanks, but also like it'll be hard
Well,
enough.
it would be the last of his direct. It'd be not the last, but like
Dragon's
another
like,
one.
yeah, I don't count.
Hear me
Yeah.
out. There's Garp, there's Shanks who could die. What about Rayleigh?
Dude, actually, that would be
Yeah.
fucked up because, like, I really like Rayleigh's relationship with Luffy. I often think of Return to Sambody when Luffy's sailing away and Rayleigh's like actually like tearing up because he's so proud.
Yeah, it's like
so
to
cute.
me, like Shanks was the father figure before Luffy started his adventure. I feel like Rayleigh's been the father figure after he started the adventure.
I'd agree. But, you know, like Rayleigh dodged the fight with Blackbeard. I wonder if they would clash again so soon.
Oh yeah, didn't he bluff? He was like,
Yes.
he came up. He was like, "I'm gonna fuck y'all all up if y'all don't stop right now." And they stopped. And he's like, "Oh my god, thank God they stopped."
Yeah, he straight up says he's like, I don't think I was gonna win that one, Chief. I don't know, maybe that's set up for something. All right, good on that. Let's, Bradley, do you have a favorite thing
Yes.
to bring up?
I got something big to bring up.
Let's do
Did
it.
we have a Luffy thought bubble?
No way.
Yeah, during the fight with Lucci, it says, "I feel my mind slipping away from me while he's attacking."
Oh no, that's Lucci getting fucked.
No, come on, no, there's no way.
It
He
is.
says,
I'm sorry.
"Where's he getting?" No, I thought I could have sworn it was Luffy, right?
I'm gonna assume that's in 1070. Luffy's going to fucking town.
Yeah, dude.
Where is he getting so much force? And Luffy's cracking up. I feel my mind slipping away from
I wasn't sure if that was Luffy, because if it's Luffy, it's huge. And like we've also talked about like the Nika fruit potentially affecting his personality and his mind, so maybe I was like running with that.
I think that's a good segue, though, because I actually think that's super relevant to that chapter in particular.
Yeah, let's talk about it anyway.
Because the thing is, Vegapunk straight up brings up that awakened Zoans particularly really chip away at, like, your personality with the animal instincts.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like it's all but confirmed that Luffy is overly goofy as Gear 5, to the point where, like, it almost cost Sentomaru his life. Like, there was a direct consequence of that. So I feel like Oda is showing, not telling, like something that we've thought for a while here, almost explicitly.
Because like he's always been a little goofy when fighting, like I don't know, like his octopus attack or whatever. Like
Yeah.
he's always had a fun fighting style, which matches well with the fruit. But I think you're right. Like there are things that happen when he's fighting, like collateral damage caused, that I don't think a default Luffy would ever do.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like Lucci versus Luffy, I feel like if Luffy was serious with Gear 5, like Lucci would have got his ass kicked a little harder than he did. Clearly Lucci didn't really stand much of a chance, but he put up a good fight, I will say.
I'm really glad he didn't stand a chance. Like,
Yeah.
If Lucci was able to go toe to toe with the Gear 5, I'd be like, oh well.
But I'm glad that he could
power-up
get
was
some good.
cool.
He got some good hits in, and I think that's good. But it's
Yeah.
very like clear that Luffy's joking around here. But yeah, I feel like Luffy is so goofy in this fight. He's doing clown houses, like trying to eat Lucci. He's shooting like debris from his mouth. He makes goggles out of his hair. You cannot tell me that this is not a reality bending ability anymore.
That's the thing.
I was genuinely wondering where he got those from.
You can
he's-
see him like form it out of his flame cloud hair. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He spins like the Tasmanian devil to throw Lucci, and then he's spinning so fast that he drills into the ground on accident.
That is so ridiculous. It's great, and like at this point, you can't convince me that this is not reality bending, like Toon Force, like a little bit, right? Like I don't know,
Yeah, like
because so many people, I heard so many people being like, yeah, Gear 5's cool, but why did it have to be a Zoan? I feel like this is all stuff he could do with a normal awakening. And I'm like, they say that because they don't believe that there's any reality bending aspect to it. They just think he's stretching the ground or stretching his opponents. It's like, no, like if you actually look how Oda is showing it, he's clearly like doing shit that's not possible even among other devil fruits. So
yeah, I think it's more clear, like, because I don't know, during the Kaido fight, it's like we were already pretty sure it was reality bending, but there was just enough doubt to be like, maybe it's just visual gags.
Exactly.
Like after the Lucci fight, I'm like, no, he is a cartoon character.
he's a fucking Looney Tune for real. That's great, and I like I've mentioned before, I love that about it because it's like I think that justifies it being a god, where it's like, oh, I'm a god of laughter, therefore I can do things that bring people joy. Like that's my actual power, which is why my body's like goofy rubber. Like that lets me do dumb shit. So I think it works better as this kind of like weird otherworldly force. And I also like how it doesn't come off as too overpowered, even like because say Lucci wasn't alone here, I still think like if Lucci had some good backup, they could have handled this situation
Yeah, like
pretty well.
I don't.
like an apple
You
on
say
the
it's
side.
not overpowered. This fight seemed completely one-sided.
I did want to ask you, Tyler. You were pretty excited about Lucci coming back. What did you think of his showing here?
I liked how they represented his evolution scaling.
Yeah,
Um,
with the awakening. Form.
The end of the end of pre time skip, we were revealed Sentomaru
Yeah,
and the Seraphims,
the pacifistas.
Yeah.
Yes.
the Pacifistas, and like Sentomaru is stronger than the Pacifistas. So like they lost to the Pacifista alone, and like Sentomaru is the one controlling them.
Yeah.
And so that was like this power scaling that Sentomaru had, because we've never seen this character actually do anything.
Yeah, he just blocks attacks. He
Just shows up, stands around, says some shit, and then gets his ass rocked. Like that's what if that's what Sentomaru means in Japanese, I wouldn't be surprised.
Get man who gets ass rocked.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what his name means.
Yeah.
So jokingly aside, I like how one-sided it was Sentomaru versus Lucci, where he just like finger poked him and was like, "Ha, screw you."
I mean,
And I was like,
Lucci's supposed
was-
to be an assassin, so yeah, I want to see some of that assassination.
Yeah, like he was like, "Oh shit!" Like this character that we got that was really strong at the end of pre-time skip shows up again and just gets his ass rocked, you know? But like, why is Sentomaru specifically hanging out with Egghead? Like, is he also on the borderline with like Smoker and all them between good and bad?
I feel like he's not. So Sentomaru was always Vegapunk. He's introduced as Vegapunk's bodyguard, even back then, before like we were years away from seeing Vegapunk. And he is the second highest authority to the Seraphim, so he's probably just there for normal research facility kind of things that he usually does.
So, is he the highest authority? Because
I believe so. Well, sorry, the second highest would be VP in the satellites. He'd be the third. Cause
Yeah.
the highest is the Elders, and I really like that because I would be kind of bummed if there was such a simple backdoor where we introduced the Seraphims and it's like, well, Vegapunk flipped. We don't have our coolest weapons anymore. Like, I'm really glad that the Elders are on top of it all.
Yeah. So speaking of the Seraphim, sorry Joe, I'm gonna bogart this one.
Yes, your turn, Tyler, please.
So we did discuss about why. Well, Bradley brought up a little sussy. There's no crocodile because it'll have to show that he was actually a female at one point in his earlier life.
I mean, come on, right?
I mean, come on.
But he specifically says like he can't make Logia fruits yet.
I believe so, but cloning the Seraphim doesn't have anything to do with the fruit, because if they can't make your fruit, they'll give a fruit that works well with your genes. Like they'll give, like they gave Jinbei the swim fruit because he's a fishman, but Jinbei doesn't naturally have the swim fruit.
Also, Crocodile I think was the newest warlord. Whenever is that correct? Like he was brand new, but he was newer.
I don't know. So. I have no earthly idea, actually.
I bet they were all like made at the same time. Like they were all sent invites at the same time.
Here's the
Sort of.
thing. Crocodile joined the Warlords after losing to Whitebeard as a youngin, he said one time, which is why in
Yeah.
the Marineford War he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get a pot shot at Whitebeard. But he's also like in his 30s, so I don't know when that would put him in the timeline, because people start young
Yeah.
in One Piece. They'll like hit the seas at 17 and go fuck up the world. So I don't know.
So another thing, so Egghead's supposed to know like everything, and so he does make a comment. We thought the Seraphims were forms of Lunarians, because they have the wings, the darker skin, so they're like Lunarian hybrids. But Egghead does Vegapunk does call them the strongest form of humanity. So that was interesting.
I think so. One Piece humans are weird because I think minks are also technically human. No, that might not be right. But humans
There's no
include like long arms, long necks. Giants, I think, might also be human. Humans are a broad. So I guess this confirms that Lunarians are also maybe a subset of human. We know so little about them.
Maybe humans are a subset of Lunarian.
That's actually probably more likely on account
Yeah.
that there's that. Tyler's never seen the Enaru cover story because he was watching the anime back then. But there's this cover story with Enel that, like, Enel's looking at this mural that shows that like people with wings, like Skypeans, came from the moon. So
Yes.
I've always held the belief that everyone that's not a fishman is not actually from the planet of One Piece, and
I will say, like, Lunarian, like, Luna's in the fucking name.
Yeah.
Like,
but also they're the gods of the Red Line. Like they're the only race we know that lives on the continent of the Red Line. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with that. Maybe the Red
Also-
Line is made of moonstone. But yeah, go.
since we're kind of Seraphim adjacent, I kind of wanted to talk about, like, Seraphim and, like, their own minds and wills, because
Yeah.
in the chapters leading up to getting to Egghead Island, I think there was kind of a note of, like, it might have even been Vegapunk lamenting how hard it is to control the will of living
Yes.
things.
It was Lilith. I remember pointing it out. I was like, hey, y'all remember this one?
Yeah, and, like, there's even more of those themes going on, not only with the Zoan fruits, but, like, even within this own chapter, like, one of the only times we see a Seraphim talk is when the Hancock one is forced to, let the Straw Hats go on their escape. And I think either Frankie or Jinbei is like, oh my god, thank you so much. And it's like, I'm only doing this because it's my orders.
She goes all tsundere, which is super cute.
It's kind of cute. And I'm wondering, like, are we going to see a Seraphim have its own will and defy its orders at some point?
You know, we're definitely going at a Seraphim will angle, and whether or not they will get free will, or we're gonna get like kind of heartbreaking scenes where we see these kids be forced to do things that they would naturally want to do. Those are kind of the two paths we can go down. I will say one of my biggest gripes with this section is how okay the Straw Hats are with these child slaves. They're not questioning the morals of the Seraphims as much as I would like, specifically Nami, because post time skip Nami is all about being like the team mom, being super kind to kids, looking out after the Punk Hazard kids and Tama and Wano, so it's weird that she isn't admonishing Vegapunk for these kids and kind of having control over them. Now granted, we haven't seen Vegapunk force the kids to do anything particularly bad, but I do hope that a scene that addresses that from Nami plays out. I don't know if y'all
Yeah,
got the
because
same
all
thought.
we've had is that one, like, throwaway gag of, like, just because you're a kid does mean I'm not gonna fight you. And
Exactly.
I'm like, haha. And so I thought there would be more, but also I just realized as I was looking through 1070, Hancock uses her love fruit on all of these
I
government.
wanted to
agents.
talk about this because what was Oda cooking?
What does it say about these agents?
He's doing some Stephen King stuff, I see.
I see that the CP in CP0 doesn't just stand for Cipher Pull.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so my copium. My copium is that the love fruit works on whatever strong emotion the person will elicit. So with Boa Hancock, it's beauty, and with S Snake, it's cuteness. She's so cute that it's impossible to not look at her and go "daw," and you get turned to stone.
Yeah.
Right? that's what
You know
we're gonna
what?
pray for.
That's the closest thing I can think.
That's the closest thing I can sleep with at night.
I saw that panel and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, there's gonna be an SBS about this, and I'm just like, Oda, just don't fuck this up.
He's
Don't
gonna be like, what are you talking about? Look how cute she is. Next question.
Okay, yes, I'll live with that one. But you know how weird and horny Oda is. He's Japanese.
Yeah.
I was reminded the other day that Pudding 16, I was like, it's a different culture. That's okay over there. just gotta let that one go.
It doesn't mean it's okay here. But
I mean,
Uh,
she's a fucking pirate. Cutthroat pirate.
Depends on what state you're in, Joe.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, even here. Anyways, that's a pure romance. Sanji had no ill thoughts for once. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Oh God, please don't let Sanji run into S Snake. No. Like,
Has Sanji ever met Boa?
he saw Boa from a telescope and got turned to stone from
Jesus.
1,000 yards away.
Well,
And returned to Sambodi because he was so deprived of women back then.
Yeah, so
Moderately
deprived,
okay.
They even fit in an entire plot point around him nearly losing blood to die.
Look,
Yeah.
if I need Sanji to run into S Snake and just be completely cool. I need like, because Oda plays it a little too fast and loose with Sanji. I was just reminded the other day of how weird Sanji was in Thriller Bark, where he's like, "Oh, I didn't come here to save Nami. I mean, I kind of did, but really, I'm just mad that I can't perv on people with the invisible fruit."
well, that's gonna be his fight this arc. He's gonna see all these soldiers turn to stone, and then S Snake's gonna walk out, and he's gonna be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you people?" And then he's gonna fight her.
Wow, the Sanji,
Sanji won't hit a woman, but he'll hit a child.
a child woman.
He's like, "That's no woman, that's a girl."
Yeah.
That
You're
he,
no lady.
That he Ifrit Jambos her face. Yeah,
Yeah.
well. Anywho, that covers our big points we might want to hit. If anyone has anything else they want to bring, I have a couple to bring up, but
Got a couple too.
gonna want to
So-
keep the floor open.
I have a hot long shot theory that probably won't be true, but unless we want to save that for another section of this whole deal.
Oh,
No?
we're jumping around. This is how it's meant
Okay.
to be today.
So Bradley was mentioning about a seraphim that like had its own control and what Lilith said at the beginning, and it just everything we're discussing. And so when when Vegapunk was on the phone talking to whoever, what if that seraphim crocodile and he's just too swarmy to like actually nail down the programming with?
Holy sh! You know what's so funny about that? It just reminds me of all the times in the like in the early Baroque work saga where you
Yeah.
just talk to Mr. Zero through a phone, and he's
Yes.
like this mysterious dude. It'd be so funny if it's the kid. He's like, "Yeah, call me on the phone like I'm a mob boss."
Yeah.
That would be very cute. I will I'm gonna address that in a second. I did want to say, so Nami hasn't pointed anything out with the kids, but there are a couple panels of like Sanji and Robin kind of thinking of the implications. So I think that's good. So who do we think is on the phone with Vegapunk on 1071? And to remind you of the scene, like Vegapunk is calling someone. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna need extra assistance," and the person talks back, and I think they agree. They like approve the assistance.
Yes.
At the start of the next chapter, they say on your left cap, and then Black Panther walks through.
Aw, rip.
Oh,
Well, it's One Piece where no one dies, including
True.
T'Challa. So who do we? Yeah, like what's going on here? Who's he calling?
so
Ghostbusters?
Specifically, this is in 1071, page 8.
Yeah. I was wondering about that too. Is he calling Ghostbusters?
Yeah, he's calling Perona. She's gonna show up. Let's see.
I mean, the only recognizable trait we have for the Denmushi is a little window on its.
Yeah, I think they all have that, unfortunately.
Nah, that's not true.
Of course, I've been waiting for your order. Whoa, we're getting help here, folks.
Like,
What
who talks like that, you know?
it's too neutral to tell.
Yeah, that could also be Dragon.
That'd be spicy.
Damn.
But would Dragon be both that tied with Vegapunk and also take orders from him? He might have his own agenda.
No way, yeah. And let's not forget, like, we just saw Dragon dealing with the Kuma situation. He's in Kamakaba Kingdom, like, dealing with Kuma, who just flew away. So I don't think he's got the means to show
he
up.
probably wasn't on standby waiting for an order. You know?
What if it's Smoker? No. Like,
No, come on.
like, hold on.
It's the remaining members of Baroque Works.
Yo, Mr. Two's return.
Yeah.
I'm actually at a loss. Like,
Yeah, no, I have no clue.
What if it is Crocodile and the rest of the crew, like Mihawks and the actual old warlords?
Guild Cross Guild
Yeah.
rather. Here's the
Cross
thing. Of course, I've been waiting for your order. Not we've been waiting. This is gonna be an individual. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't think
But-
of what individuals are left in One Piece.
Because like we've been getting shitloads of cutaways during these chapters. If you take out everyone we've already got a cutaway for, who's been on the phone with someone, I'm like, who else is left? Who's powerful?
Man, it's gonna seem so obvious when we see it too. It's gonna be annoying.
I know.
Would it be weird if it was Saul potentially?
No, because the way the chapter ends with Kid showing up at Elbaf, like that's clearly him going to go see Saul. So it's like,
Yeah.
just narratively, that's a weird flow. So I'm gonna rule that out. Could it be Aokiji? But then it's like Aokiji's in Sword and works for Vegapunk. Like, I'm theorizing too much about this guy. It can't be. And
Yeah,
he's a
no.
Blackbeard pirate. Like, nah.
Man, he's got too much going on.
I need to see more though. I needed some answers on that boy.
Laziest man has most jobs on planet.
There's one individual left in the story that I can think of that hasn't played a role yet, and that would
Gaimon.
be Gaimon. That would be a rogue who, who I think the other day were like, I think Bradley was like, "Man, the rogue's never coming back." I was like, "Come on,
Wait,
man."
yeah, no, like out of all the worst generation,
He's the only one who's never done anything.
He's gotten a lot of focus out of all of them. Like not nearly as much as like the ones who have screen like Law and
He
Kid,
shows
but
up in like connective tissues of arcs, like doing stuff.
That's the thing. I think we know like with pretty good certainty what most of the rest of the worst generation is doing right now, except for him.
Yeah.
Could
The
it be?
last time we saw it was
There's-
when
Sorry,
Kaido
Joe.
was jumping off the cloud. Sorry. Last time we saw you rogues when Kaido was jumping off the cloud, right? Or did we see him another time?
I feel like there's a chance we saw him once after.
Nah.
Maybe not. Yeah, nothing comes to mind. So, but you know how Oda likes to do like, hey, this character showed up for one panel in the stretch of 50 chapters.
Could you imagine if that's the last time we see you rogue ever?
I will literally bet you $2,000 that that's not happening.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way.
I will actually
But
bet like there's no chance that a rogue doesn't do something in the main plot. Period. Like.
yeah,
Whether it be he brings Enno back to the story or he shows up now, there's just 0% chance that Oda did something for every single warlord. Even Killer got like plot lines and not a rogue. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? It's gonna be a shocker. But actually no. I forgot the obvious thing. I wanted to say that the most obvious answer would be Stussy, because if you pay attention to the cover page of 1070, that shows the science group Mads when they were young. So hold on, let me jump to 1070 so I can list them now.
I was about to say there was one person in there that I was like, who is that? You know?
Yeah, so the order it goes from left to right is you got Queen, you got Caesar Punk, you got Vegapunk, you got Caesar Clown, Vegapunk, you got Judge, and you got a mystery woman.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck is that?
Carmen San Diego.
So, I will also bring up that Stussy was introduced in Whole Cake Island in Big Mom's
Tea
wedding.
party. Yeah.
I've been in this game long enough to where when Oda introduced her in the same arc as Judge, and
Dude.
while we have had scientists like Caesar Clown before, I feel like the actual idea of Mads as a group is not a thing until Whole Cake. So I don't know, man. I'm just saying.
It's like, we introduced this character for the first time in an arc where we're also expanding Mads, and then in the next arc, we see we see a chapter cover with Mads, with a character who looks like that character.
And that character is in the arc right now.
Yeah.
So, come on. I can see it. I can,
There's something there, but it would be weird because she'd be talking to Vegapunk, but she's also with Lucci and Kaku, so that's why I'm not like 100% on
double
this.
agent.
Yeah, but how is she like? How is she going? She's like, hey, I gotta go take a call, and then she goes to a corner and talks to Vegapunk.
Dude, and since you brought up Kaku, here's what's important. So the first time I saw him, I don't think this is the case anymore. I think it's just his mask. I thought he was wearing a mask and he was sticking his nose through a hole in the mask and then using hockey on his nose to keep it safe because it's exposed. Because it's like his nose was colored black, unlike everything else.
That's fucking funny.
So I didn't know if that was his mask or if he was hockeying his nose.
I'd like to believe it is, yes. So yeah, that's like this potential mystery there. I also want to bring up, and like this is maybe like I feel like the most recent chapter, a little bit too much happened in one chapter. So I was talking about it, and like Joe even got confused here. They're able to get past like the invisible barrier in the Labo Phase lab that made like Kaku showed it off earlier in the first chapter of the batch, where he flies up there and gets zapped down. But now they're able to go through, and they're like, "Huh, that was convenient." So, and Vegapunk doesn't. He even says like, "I don't know why that happened." So someone turned off the defense systems in a very sneaky panel. Like, it just gets kind of brushed off in the plot, but that's the kind of thing where like, technically, if you like, remember when Kanjuro was the traitor, there was actually a lot of evidence of Kanjuro being the traitor, but it's like little panels here and there that spread out over hundreds of chapters. So to me, this seems like a Kanjuro little like hint panel for a future traitor reveal. And of course, I think the traitor would be one of the Vegapunks, right?
Yeah. I think also it might be one of those. It might be like a greater plan of that. The other potential person is that person that he's talking to is like a failed Vegapunk clone or separation.
Oh shit! Yeah, like a seventh Vegapunk.
Yeah, and has access to everything.
Ooh.
And so turned off the defense grid to let CP0 in, but then like maybe they turn it back on when they leave, and then they're stuck there because it's been inversed or something, so they can't leave. If they try to jump down from the line?
Yeah, they can go back down now because they're trapped.
Yes. So I don't know, but like, speaking of that line, did y'all notice the numbers going up?
Yeah, Joe said that like there's like the Labo Phase has this ring that's had a number that at the start of the arc was like in the 70s, but now it's in the hundreds.
Yeah, I saw the 100 and I was like, that looks significant, but I don't know what it is.
I have no fucking idea.
And then when they said that the defense system is down, it goes to 0. So it could just be like that's the defenses and it was only set to like 72%.
Oh, it is at 0.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like, I think it's the lethality of the defense system.
Yeah. It could also literally be an upload that was happening during. That could also be something that's because they talk about how they upload their data every day. But I feel like it's more of the defense grid thing.
I think you nailed it. That it's the defense system. It just makes sense because like it's at 0 after they've gotten through.
Yes.
Or like as they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, hold on. It's 0, and then they literally talk about like, hey, the barrier is down. That's 100% it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucci does think it could be a trap. Stussy is questioning it in that page. I don't know. I do like how Zoro meets Kaku on the ship, just like Water 7. Also worth noting that when Luffy and Lucci first clash, they literally redo that panel where they punch each other and they're like shockwaves coming out. Nice throwback panel there. Those are like a lot of the major theories and points. Let me scroll through and see. I like how we saw a little bit more of the townsfolk. It kind of like, because this arc isn't doing the whole like, hey, let's meet all the townsfolk and learn a little bit about them. It was just go, go, go.
That's the thing. You
Yeah.
got to realize it's not just a lab. Like, there's a shitload of people here too.
Yeah, like I think it was said that they're all researchers and they're just people who work on the lab. So they're probably just people that like Vegapunk recruits, and it's like, hey, do you want to come live on my future island and help me out and give me manpower?
I this must be one of the more nicer of the fucking islands in One Piece, right?
I will
Like-
take living on this island over just about any of the
I
other
think
ones.
this has to
dude.
be number one that we visited, right?
Yeah. Because like Big Bomb, sure you're protected, but you're literally giving up pieces of your soul every year
This
to her.
is just like, hey, we literally can produce food. We just don't have enough like energy for the whole world to do it.
Yeah.
Which Vegapunk
It's-
talks about his big dream. I think that's worth noting, where he's like, "Hey, I want to make an energy solution." The thing with that is, energy disputes hasn't been a thing in One Piece before.
Correct.
Which is like, why is this the angle Oda's going with for like Vegapunk? Like he could have gone with like, "Oh, I want to fix world hunger." That would be more fitting for what we've seen in the story. So I'd actually think that there's two answers, maybe. One, this is the fall of the ancient kingdom was something related to energy, and he's being proactive.
Yes.
Or
Or
he's
because like he could spread this new tech all over the world, but he's like, if I spread this tech all over the world, it might just cause more war than before.
we were
Yeah.
talking about like what caused such a great kingdom to fall, and I think Joe brought up the idea where it's like, oh, one place had all the power, so it became a natural like the 20 kingdoms turned on the one D clan because they had the power or whatever. It could also be like a, hey, they fell because of energy disputes, so I'm going to go ahead and try to address that in our modern age. That, or he's looking in the future and he's like, one day power disputes would be the problem. So it doesn't really work with what the story's given us so far, but if it's something like that, I think that would be a cool angle to the character.
You know, he has a lot of dreams too. Besides that, like the global internet brain and shit. So yeah, he's got some big things cooking.
Yeah.
Does need a lot of power for his brain, so
We also got we got some cool stuff about the politics of fighting emperors. This applies to both Lucci and Garp. That's pretty neat. The Straw Hats learned about Nika. I think I called that as like this something that's got to happen here with Vegapunk in this arc.
And you know what? In that regard about the politics of fighting emperors, because Lucci is like, I don't view Straw Hat as an emperor.
He's
and
so
I think
salty.
I think this kind of reinforces my idea, and I want to know what y'all think that Lucci, it's not so much that he genuinely has that vigor for the world government. He has this job because they let him do what he likes to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
He likes to
So-
kill.
That's the thing. If he wants to fight Luffy and the world government says no, if he wants it bad enough, he's going to be like, I don't view that motherfucker as an emperor. I'm going to fight him anyway.
Yeah, it's like his justification to breaking the rules, and I like that.
Yeah.
It makes it better than him being just petty. It's both a little bit. I also think like a big thing this arc may be trying to do is like, okay, we saw that Luffy's an emperor, but now we need him to be like battle tested as a world threat against the government as well before they, because like they're not like, hey, let's go kill Luffy right now, send in all three admirals. They're like, this is like a good in between, so we don't jump directly to Luffy's the number one threat in the world. We need this arc, I think, to be like an in betweener.
That's the
Well,
thing.
we
Okay, so do the elders at this point know that Nika has awakened?
Oh yeah, for sure, because
yeah.
They have
Yeah.
they talked about it in 1044 because the
Cool.
CP0 agents reported it. But the thing is, like, and people oversold Nika. It's like Nika is not the scariest thing in the planet for them. It's just like one of many really bad things that could happen in the world.
Jesus.
It's not like the end of their reign just because Nika's awakened. It's
Yeah.
just another nuisance that they're gonna have to deal with.
I think it's also, but like you said, not the number one threat in the world. Well, as soon as like Luffy gets off the island with Vegapunks,
It will be. I'm not saying it won't be. It just isn't
Yeah.
immediately.
it's not immediately, which
Yeah.
which might be the setup of like the final kind of rush of like Luffy's gonna like beeline to the One Piece, and the world government's like, you gotta send everybody. Everyone has to go.
All
And
hands
then-
on deck.
Yes.
Oh my god, I
Uh,
cannot wait for the third part of Smoker's story. Oh, it's gonna be so good when he finally turns to Luffy's side.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
He smoked the whole place.
So, the major thing actually we haven't talked about None of us brought it up. The huge devil fruit lore that's dropped in 1069. I think that we gotta talk a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Let's.
Vegapunk describes devil fruits, and we talked about some translation differences here that could be a thing. Where devil fruits are mankind's dreams manifested. This sets off all sorts of like theory bells, alarm bells, like thinking of the themes of the story. What do y'all interpret like this tidbit of devil fruit lore that we get from Vegapunk?
The thing when I first heard it, like like when my first reaction was like, does this mean like just people willing a devil fruit into existence makes it appear? And then I was like, no, maybe it's like these devil fruits were born of the desire for their abilities, but that doesn't necessarily mean they just popped into existence. Maybe someone like acted upon that will to make them real.
Yeah, his direct line is every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. So you can interpret that as they desired it with their dreams and therefore a devil fruit manifested, or they desired it so they actively went out of their way to create it with science.
Hey, yeah, because like in the modern day, if he's able to artificially create 2 out of the 3, well, he can create one of the devil fruit types. He can cheat Paramithias. Is it possible that the ancient civilization is the one who just scienced the devil fruits into existence?
Exactly. Like, it's 1,000% possible that they created this technology.
Yeah. I was going to say that, like, Vegapunk's description is very, like, non-scientific. If it's very fantastical of an explanation.
Very dreamer.
Which is very at odds of like who he is and what he's been doing in terms of like replicating them, right? Like that's just really interesting to me.
I think that's a cool characterization of him, where he's like he's the science man, but he's a big dreamer, like a lot of the other characters that we like in the story. You know, it's like he has the know-how, but he's still like one of those kinds of One Piece characters. Tyler, you gonna say something as well?
Yeah. So. I think the sun god Nika, and Luffy's transformation into that, is just the plot of Persona 5 and the Phantom Thieves.
The collective unconscious.
Yeah, of needing liberation. So that's also why the 5 elders don't like the news about Luffy being spread, is because humanity gives power to the transformation of Nika, which is why they have the ability to erase things and like memories of that from the planet, and that's why it takes so long for the Nika or the White Warrior in White to be reborn. And the like catalyst for Luffy's transformation into the sun god Nika was actually Kaido and his belief that Luffy in their fight was actually going to become the sun god.
There's some hot theming to that idea that I really like.
I get one every few months.
Yeah, that's what we love. These are the moments we live for. I genuinely like the world is reaching this point where more people are realizing they need liberation. Like the world didn't know that the world government was bad at the start of the story. But over the course of the story, you're seeing like more and more of the normal folks are like, hey, we kind of live in a shitty world, huh? And like they're starting to realize it, and maybe that has something to do with the Gum fruit being reborn, aka the Nika fruit. Like around that time, like Gold Roger starts this age of piracy, and a couple years later, that dream of freedom manifests as the Nika fruit. I will say, Bradley said like the fruit manifests out of nowhere. There's always been this like small lore point that is almost never brought up about the Eve tree. So there's something called the Adam tree. That's where like the really good wood that Frankie uses to make the Sunny comes from. He mentioned. There's and I think that one is set to be in Elbaf, if I'm not mistaken. There's a counterpart to that tree called the Eve tree. And the Eve trees in Marajoa, and the roots are what gives Fishman Island light. Like it absorbs light from the sun, and the roots let there be illumination at the bottom of the ocean. So I think a big theory that people have always had is that devil fruits grow on the Eve tree, which also means that like the celestial dragons planted their home base at like the Yggdrasil of the One Piece world, like this magical tree that might be absorbing the thoughts of man and producing the materialization of the devil fruits. So I almost picture like this is an alien substance on this planet that can like read the thoughts of man and kind of produce genetically engineering fruits from its branches. Something like that. It's one route we could go for sure. And I also like the idea of the celestial dragons like hogging that power. And there's yeah, and then like Bradley mentioned, the other option is these are scientific experiments made from the age of the Void Century. And I think both are really cool because both are still like man's dreams. Just one is like a metaphysical dream and one is like a dream through effort and science.
And one thing I'm noticing since we're kind of on these pages with the lore, you know, I've kind of taken the knowledge that Luffy does not have the Gum Gum fruit for granted since we've known about it for so many weeks.
Yeah.
And obviously the world government knew about it because that's where we learned about it is through their pages. I kind of forgot that the Straw Hats don't necessarily know that.
Luffy doesn't know that. Like, Luffy doesn't know what he is.
That's the thing. Like, Nami's like, what are you talking about? Isn't that his Gum Gum fruit? And Vegapunk's like, there is no Gum Gum fruit. And she's like, what?
That's really good. And I really like Sanji, Frankie, and Usopp's like reactions to this. This page when we learn the actual like this is part 1 of the mystery, of course, but we finally got it. When we learn parts 2 and 3 and whatnot, we'll be able to look at this page with a lot of different context. And it's also like he mentions also here that the unnatural state that these fruits have is loathed by the sea. So that like the sea's always been this weird thing where like the sea has a personification in One Piece, but we don't really talk about it. Like we don't have much information on it.
That's the thing. We are in a part of the story that, like, God, it feels weird saying this for a story like One Piece. I feel like we're in a part of the story that's more grounded in science.
Yeah, but isn't it crazy how the entire post time skip has been kind of having this underlying current of showing the science process of the One Piece world? Like that's been such a big thing.
We know there are mythical, unexplainable things in One Piece. The Klabautermen,
yeah,
like
that's a straight up spirit.
There are spirits in this world. I sound like Alex Jones.
The frogs are gay in this world.
No, but like, there's got like the sea. I don't know if there's like a will of the sea or like I don't know.
Don't forget, Davy Jones is something that exists in the lore. That's a motherfucker. Shit. That's a motherfucker that's out there. We might hear something about him one day. Oh, man. But yeah, that's good. Like, we're not going to come up with any good answers for the devil fruits necessarily, but I think we're hitting some of the best potentials that we have so far. And I think that's all the stuff I wanted to bring up as well, so.
There's one tiny detail. That all of the awakened fruits that we've seen get the cloud ring.
The Zoans do.
Yeah, the Zoans do.
Which I think Lucci's looks so badass with the dark
It looks
clouds.
badass. This is such a cool form.
I can't wait for Pyre Warriors 5, man. I need it.
Dude.
I need Nika's gonna have the greatest moveset in an action game.
Can you imagine? Like he dives into the ground, giant head comes out of the ground, eats all the enemies.
The game's gonna crash. Luffy will actually jump out of the TV and play the game for you on your couch.
I want Luffy to punch me from the game. He plays the game 2-player with you.
We're gonna get all the Vegapunks. We're gonna get the Seraphim. Like, come on,
bro. The Vegapunk character is Shaka, and he's summoning the other satellites.
That would be kind of badass.
Or it could be Old Man Vegapunk, but he can't. Like, what is he gonna do?
Anywho, I want to give a quick shout out to Frankie shouting out Senor Pink. He was so like, "Yes, my brother from another mother," and he was sad because he's like, "Is Senor Pink dead?
Is he dead?" I'm glad he's not. And this
you know what?
This confirms that they just get stuff from Impel Down, which is nice.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing. Obviously, they were able to get his devil fruit from his bloodline elements from him and Impel Down. Do you know how many Devil Fruit users there has to be in Impel Down? Why do you think they're gonna stop at the Seraphim?
Oh my god, what if Mihawk has Mr. Zero's fruit? He just hasn't shown it yet.
Oh fuck!
Like he's a Blade Man on top of being a Blade Man.
Jesus,
That'd be...
that's the thing.
What
Like
if
they
What
can
if
do
he
some
has
crazy
Bumpy's
stuff.
fruit and he just cuts himself up?
Doflamingo is in Impel Down right now. You know 100%. Like Dofi Seraphim's got the fruit.
I saw two theories for why Logia fruits aren't copyable. The first theory was that like if you try to take their blood out of them, the part of the bloodline elements that carry their devil fruit just turns into whatever their element is. Like,
okay, sure, yeah, all right.
Like they're like, I don't know, maybe their blood just turns into fire
Like
when you take
part
it out
of the DNA just dissolves into sand. It's like, well, I'm a sandman.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
The other theory is Oda didn't think of that, and copying Logias would just be too OP.
No, with hockey, he introduced hockey to balance out.
Actually,
Logias.
we have our balance. We have our balance.
There's gotta be something to that. But you know what? We've talked a lot today. We'll sleep on that. We'll reconvene next time.
Yes.
And that's all, folks. Thanks for joining us for One Piece. Good talks, y'all. Good discussions.
Good talks.
I'm excited to see, I like doing these because it reminds me of like stuff I'm excited to see in the upcoming chapters. Like, I hope we get a resolution to Garp kind of soonish. I know we won't, but that's one hope that I have for the upcoming chapters. Do y'all have any things you want to see in the upcoming chapters?
I am so excited that someone is going to be on Elbaf, finally. It's not the Straw Hats, but it's somebody.
It only took 900 chapters since it's been mentioned.
Is there anything that's been mentioned in the past that still needs to get, like, Chekhov's gun? Other than the One Piece, obviously.
Elbaf, Lodestar Island, which is the final island of the Grand Line. And, of course, Laugh Tale, which is not the final island. And God Valley. But God Valley is a mystery. I don't think it exists anymore. That or it was Onigashima. So we've already
God. Like, among all these other people making moves, world government, sending admirals were on Egghead, I just remembered Shanks said, let's go claim the One Piece. While this is happening.
Dude, One Piece is about to become the best tournament arc of all of Shonen. I think Oda, in his address, he's like, wait, who's fighting who? Like, he's hyping up all these, like, cool matchups that he's cooking.
Could you imagine if the final battle of One Piece is everyone's on Elbaf doing a Davy back fight?
Nah, now you're asking for too much.
Dude, no, they gotta bring back the Davy back fight. Come on.
They do have to bring it back, though.
Like, you're telling me you're only gonna do it once?
I mean, I'm losing hope on my Shanks versus Luffy Davy back fight dream. If we're being honest, I'm
That would be
losing hope.
badass.
I've always been certain that's how it would go down, but I just don't think we have time in this chalk schedule.
I don't know, man. See what happens.
And don't forget, we said back when we were reading Thriller Bark all together or something, we're like, hey, they're going to go to the underworld one day. Count on it. They're going to sail right there. Still hoping. Still got the copium. All right, y'all. Leave your comments and your theories of what you want for the upcoming chapters, and we'll catch you next break.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.